Hey everybody, welcome to the Rugby Report. My name is Dwayne Burkhardt, and once again, I'm back in these super cool shades. One, because I'm still a little bit light sensitive, and two, let's face it, I look cooler this way. Anyway, we have a lot of rugby to talk about this week in both the NPC and the Rugby Championship, so let's not waste time. Let's get started. We will start, as we always do, with the NPC, where round 6 finished up on Wednesday night when the undefeated defending champion Waikato Mulus hosted the winless but still proud and fighting Southland Stags. And the game was actually much better than you might have thought. Well, at least it was for the first 50 minutes. The Stags were once again not only in this game, but this time they even led in the second half. And then, just as it happened in the Hawke's Bay game, there was a mistake by Southland. In this case, it was an errant pass by Marty Banks that was intercepted, and it led to a try. And the Stags staggered. Their defense just fell apart, and sadly, once again, the rout was on. The Mulus won the second half by 40 points. The full-time score, Waikato 54, Southland 24. Now, unlike last week, I think the Stags did pull it back together at the end of this game, but they really didn't play all 80 minutes, and that is a problem they've got to fix if they want to win a game this year. Round 7 started on Friday night as the Taranaki Bulls hosted the other winless team, the Manawatu Turbos, and this game actually had some fun moments. If you didn't see it, you should at least hop over to YouTube and catch the highlights because it was fun. Well, the first half was fun. The second half was a bit more, Anyway, Kenny Naholo had 2 really great tries in the first half, and as someone who has sat in the stands in Dunedin and sung for his brother, "Why, Seki Naholo," well, it was fun, and it was hopefully indicative that the younger Naholo is starting to realize some of his considerable potential. On the Turbos side, I get it, they're still winless, but they're not getting just pummeled and crushed and blown out anymore, and they don't look intimidated or down. They're playing better. And frankly, Luke Campbell at scrum half is, in my opinion, a big reason why. This is now a team that could shock someone before the end of the season. But they have simply got to play better defense first. Full-time score, Taranaki 34, Turbos 24. Saturday's action began in one of my favorite rugby stadiums, Counties Manukau, where I am still actively checking out the housing market overlooking the stadium, while the Steelers were busy playing host to Canterbury, a team that seems to be hell-bent on stress testing my cardiovascular system. This game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, and I guarantee you that it was a lot closer than Canterbury thought it was going to be. That shouldn't have been too surprising, though. The Steelers have been tough at home this year, and as they did in round 1 against Otago, they again mounted a massive comeback in the second half of this game and made the finish a lot more exciting than it otherwise would have been. In the end, Canterbury did prevail, but the full-time score was Counties 39, Canterbury 44. Counties was not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs by this loss, but they would now need to win out and have help to make the postseason, where Canterbury now seems destined to end up with the top seed in the Evens Conference. Next, we're going to go to Eden Park, where Auckland went on a fishing expedition, hosting the Tasman Mako, a team barely able to keep their heads below water in their fight to make the postseason. Now, I know some people might be getting a little tired of my fish jokes when covering the Tasman games this season. I understand. You just think I'm being shellfish. Anyway, this game was another one that just was way closer than I thought it was going to be. In the end, Auckland did come away with the win, but it was hardly the kind of dominance that we saw from them early in the season. The full-time score was Auckland 30, Tasman 27. Now, Auckland is still comfortably in the playoff hunt, while Tasman is still in the race, but far more precariously placed. Now, finally, on Saturday, we travel over to Hawke's Bay, where the Magpies hosted the Wellington Lions in what can only be described as the defensive war game of the year. In fact, this was the most defensive war game that I've seen in the NPC in many years. Wow. Both of these teams came out really fired up, and the pace in the early part of the game was frankly frenetic. But no one could score because, well, both teams were playing really good defense. The score at the half was 9-9. Early in the second half, a possessed and highly motivated TJ Perenara finally broke through the Hawke's Bay defense to score the game's only try. From there, it was back to the defensive battle. The teams traded kicks. But then in extra time, Hawke's Bay did have one last chance to at least secure a draw, and they got all the way down to inside Wellington's 5-meter line, and then an errant line-in pass went into Wellington's hands, and that was it. Wellington takes home the victory and the Ranfurly Shield. Full-time score, a frankly shocking Hawke's Bay 12, Wellington 19. The result not only gives the Wellington Lions possession of the Ranfurly Shield for the first time since Iron Man set atop the box office, but it allows them to leapfrog all the way into second place in the odds conference, meaning that they would now host a first-round playoff game. The Sunday's action begins in idyllic Taronga, where the Bay of Plenty Steamers welcomed what might be the hardest luck team in NPC history. I am, of course, referring to the Southland Stags. Unfortunately, in this game, they went from hard luck to tragic luck. Early in the game, Marty Banks, one of the most liked rugby players on the planet, seen here with yours truly, and the starting fly half for the Stags this season, chased down a Bay of Plenty player and made a try-saving tackle, but also dislocated his shoulder in the process and is now out for the season. Impressively, and despite the loss of one of their star players, and the further ignominy of having an obviously legitimate try nullified by a side official, and another try taken away from them by the TMO, the Stags, once again, simply wouldn't quit. And for the record, they did play a solid 80 minutes of rugby in this game. But the Steamers, once again, were just too much. Full-time score, Bay of Plenty 54, Stags 21. From there, we head to Forsyth Bar in Dunedin for a game that is easily the shocker of the year so far. Otago hosted the undefeated, defending champion, Waikato Mulus. I know, you can tell where we're going. Don't get ahead of me. Now, a month ago, Otago had just won 3 in a row and looked to be in pretty good shape to make the playoffs. But then they lost 3 in a row, and they entered this game on the brink of elimination. But you know what? They're not ready to be eliminated just yet. Now, to be clear, Waikato led for the significant majority of this game, but they could not put Otago away. And in the 72nd minute, Josh Timu made the interception of his career. He stepped in front of a Waikato pass and took it 40 meters the other way to give Otago the lead, and then they held on for the most important upset of the year. Full-time score, Otago 27, Waikato 20. Now, Waikato still leads the odds conference, but the loss now puts Canterbury in the driver's seat for the number 1 seed overall. And while Otago is definitely not assured a playoff spot, they are absolutely still... Yeah, staying alive. Now, finally on Sunday, we head up north for a game with very real playoff implications as the Northland Taniwha hosted North Harbour. Now, last week I told you that I thought Northland would be able to exploit some of the weaknesses that Bay of Plenty exposed in North Harbour's defense. Instead, it was North Harbour who took my advice. They apparently did study their own film and addressed those very same issues because in this game, they matched their aggressive and attacking offense with a much improved defense, and the result was frankly not what I expected. Full-time score was Northland 21, North Harbour 48. The result moves North Harbour up into the number 3 spot in the Evens Conference and pushes Northland out of the top 4 and down into 5th position, so literally out of the postseason if it were to start today. Now, before we look at next week's games, let's quickly check in on my prediction stats for the season. In rounds 1 through 6, I was 33-13. And this week, that's 4-3. Brings me to 37-16 overall. Looking forward to the coming week, round 7 will officially end on Wednesday night when the Taranaki Bulls will host the Counties Manukau Steelers. Now, this is actually a very tough game for me to predict, mostly because Taranaki has been so frustratingly unpredictable this season. And Counties, will be literally playing for their playoff lives. If this were a home game for the Steelers, I think I'd call it for them. But against the Unpredictables, which is what I'm going to call them from now on, honestly, this game could still go either way. But since I have to predict someone, I'm going to go on a limb and say the Bulls will win this at home, and Counties will sadly be eliminated from the playoff contention. Round 8 begins on Friday with a battle that has real playoff implications in the Evens Conference. Number 1 Canterbury takes on number 2 Auckland. Now, this isn't a must-win game for either team, but it's going to be an emotional statement game for whoever wins it. Now, who will win it? Well, if Auckland has any shot at winning the entire competition this year, then in my opinion, they kind of have to win this game. But I don't think they're going to. They've been struggling late in the season, and while Canterbury has been far from dominant themselves, they have consistently found a way to win games when they need to. And I think they're going to do it again here. Canterbury takes this game. Saturday's actions are going to begin with the Battle of the Bays, which may or may not be a thing in New Zealand, but if it isn't, it bloody well should be. The Bay of Plenty Steamers will host the Hawke's Bay Magpies in another game with huge playoff implications. The Magpies and the Steamers are currently ranked 3 and 4 respectively in the odds conference, which means that this game could very easily decide who plays who in the first round of the playoffs. The Magpies will be annoyed at having just surrendered the Ranfurly Shield, but Bay of Plenty will be at home, and the Steamers will be bringing all of that amazing geothermal-based passing energy to the game. Who will win? This is yet another really hard game for me to call, but I have to pick someone, and this may be my heart talking, but I have to believe that the Steamers are going to win this one at home. Steamers win. Next up, we head down to Tasman, where the Mako will host the Northland Taniwha in a game that is basically a must-win game for both teams. Now, Tasman is currently in the last playoff spot in the Evens Conference and has been improving, while Northland is suddenly outside looking in, having dropped into the number 5 spot and coming off a disappointing loss at home. Now, there's no doubt in my mind, folks, this is a win-or-go-home game for these two teams. Now, I have underestimated Northland several times this season, and as you all know, I want to be a Mako fan. But I am going to go out on a limb again here, and I'm going to say that no, Northland is going to come roaring back this week, and they're going to take this game on the road. The Taniwha are going to win. Now, the last game on Saturday is another number 1 versus number 2 game, this time in the odds conference, as the number 2 Wellington Lions host the recently shocked into reality, but still number 1 in their conference, Waikato Mulus. And because of last week's surprise win in Hawke's Bay, this will also be a Ranfurly Shield game, as Wellington will be defending the Shield for the first time in 14 years. How will this game go? Well, I have also underestimated Wellington more than once this season. But I find it hard to believe that Waikato is going to drop 2 in a row this close to the playoffs. So I'm going to say Waikato will win this game, and they will take the Shield back with them to Hamilton. On Sunday, the improving but still winless Manawatu Turbos will play host to the, oh my god, I still can't believe we won that game, Otago squad. But can Otago go on the road, win again, and keep their playoff hopes alive? Yes! Yes, they can, and they will. Otago will win this game. Next, North Harbour will return home to face the Taranaki Bulls, or the Taranaki Unpredictables, a team which is now officially, in my eyes, the most up-and-down team of the year. Can they go into North Harbour and, I don't know, wilt the hibiscus? No. North Harbour's offense has been improving all year, and if they can get their front rowers and midfielders to play the way they did last week, well, the playoffs may have just gotten a lot more difficult to predict, and in any case, they will trample the Bulls and take this game. Lastly, on Sunday, we're going to go all the way down to Invercargill, where the now Marty Banksless Southland Stags will play host to the county's Manukau Steelers. Now, I've had this game circled on the schedule for over a month, and I saw it as the game that Southland has a really good chance of winning. But without Marty Banks, can Southland step up and win a game this year? Well, this might be my heart talking, and it might be talking a little louder than my head, But you know what? Even if it hoses up my predictions by one, I'm going to take a stand here with the Stags, and I'm going to say, yes, this is it, boys. You can do it. The Stags, they're going to win a shocker against the Steelers. They're going to win this game at home. Stags finally win. And now round 8 will formally conclude next Wednesday when Bay of Plenty hosts Northland. And, as I always do, I will make my prediction for that game on my next podcast. Now let's leave the NPC behind and have a look at the Rugby Championship, where more than a little bit of controversy erupted after the Wallabies hosted the All Blacks in Melbourne this week. This was a wild game. It was the most exciting test match between these two teams in years. But from the beginning, it kind of looked to me like it was going to be the All Blacks' night, although the first half was a really back-and-forth match and the score at halftime was 10-all. In the second half, however, the All Blacks pulled out to a 31-13 lead, only to have the Wallabies push all the way back into it and tie the game with just 6 minutes to play. And then they took a 3-point lead with just 3 minutes to play. And then came that super controversial call against the Wallabies for holding onto the ball for too long. And in fairness to the official, if you look at the clock, the Wallabies did chew up about 40 seconds of clock before the ref blew the whistle. Anyway, that gave the All Blacks one last chance, and in extra time, Jody Barrett got loose on the outside and scored the game's winning try in an absolutely heart-stopping thriller. The full-time score, All Blacks 39, Wallabies 37, and I needed oxygen. Wow. Unfortunately, we had 2 whole days after that for our heart rates to return to normal before Saturday's matchup between the Argentinian Pumas and the South African Springboks. Now, this game featured not one, but 2 penalty tries, one for each team, and for the record, I actually agreed with both of those calls. But the truth is that, from my perspective, the Boks seemed to be in control of this game from start to finish. They led 22-6 at the half, and if you missed the second half, well, you didn't miss much. The Pumas did close it up to a 2-point game toward the end, but South Africa responded with 2 quick tries, and the full-time score was Pumas 20, Springboks 36. Now this coming week, these 4 teams will do it again one last time as the Rugby Championship draws to a close. The All Blacks will host the Wallabies at Eden Park, and despite how annoyed the Wallabies will be coming into this game, I have to believe that the All Blacks will defend their home field, and they will win this game, while the Springboks will return to Durban, where they will play the Pumas, and I think they will win too. If I'm correct about this, the All Blacks should win the Rugby Championship, and they will win it by what I believe will be the slimmest margin ever, which is, I think, and as I have said before, a reflection of just how great this competition is and just how evenly matched these 4 teams are right now. Well, that's it, folks. That's all I've got. There's only 2 weeks left of the NPC regular season, so it only gets better and more exciting from here. Remember, if someone tells you that they're just not into rugby, tell them that's okay. After all, it's kind of a smart person's game anyway. See you next time. We are rolling. Go intro. Cue intro. So glad that won't be in the take. I'm going to do all of this again, and I'm going to take a water break here first. Take this. Because I needed that. All right, one more time. This game turned out to be, now, one more, we'll just the 4th time. And it's the 4th time, but let's just get it right. Okay. The result not only gives the Wellington Lions possession of the Ranfurly Shield for the first time since Iron Man sat atop the box office, but it allows them to keep leapfrogging. Oh, come on. Oh, well. Again. And look to be in good shape to make the playoffs. I need to stop. Water again. Water break. See, like the players, I need a water break. The difference is they're throwing one of these around while I'm just sitting here talking about them throwing it around. All right, let's go back to Otago's beginning again. Now, Waikato still leads the I think I'm going to do the entire Waikato thing again. I just didn't like it overall. I look forward to the coming... That was not what I wanted to say. There was like something went wrong with my lips. Once again, extra air. Mostly because Taranaki has been so frustratingly unpredictable this season. And the unpredictable. I like that. I'll have to use that again sometime. And counties will literally be playing for their playoff lives. I'm going to do it again because I like that so much. I'm going to add that in. All right. While Northland is suddenly outside looking in, having dropped into the number 5. Shucks. Where the now Marty Banksless Southland Stags will play